Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Remco Rinkema, and you are watching Run It Back, the show in which we run it back. We watch some old school poker footage. Sometimes it is from a very long time ago. Sometimes it is from very recently. And today I'm joined by the 2021 US Poker Open champion David Peters to watch the action from the events that he just managed to win at the PokerGO Studio, because the US Poker Open just wrapped up. All the action is available on PokerGO on demand in case you want to watch these entire final tables. But today, for the next 90 minutes, we'll break down some of the final table action. We'll take your questions from the chat on Twitch, on Facebook, and on YouTube. If you have any questions for David, please send them into the chat. David, first and foremost, congrats once again on the US Poker Open win. Has it sunk in yet that you now have a pet for life in the shape of a 54-pound eagle?
Thanks. No, it hasn't fully sunk in yet. You know, it's been a crazy 10 days or so, and I have this amazing eagle. I still don't know really where to put it, but no, it's been a fun week, and yeah, still pretty excited.
Yeah, so today we're going to relive some of these moments from the final table. For the people in the chat, if you have any questions for David, for myself, or about the events, please drop them into the chat, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Shout out, by the way, also, David, to your Twitter page, and people can see it on screen. It's dpeterspoker17 on Twitter. Took the epic photo, the Kobe photo with the trophy in the bathroom. How many bottles of wine did it take you to come up with that one?
I don't know, not many. I just remember that photo. I always thought that was like a great picture, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll just like recreate that. That'd be kind of fun.
I mean, it turned out awesome, and I think we'll have to refer back to that one every now and then, because it was definitely the right way to pose with the trophy. We're diving straight into the action. Event 7, first final table. You made 3 final tables. You won 3 events. Spoiler alert for those who haven't watched the action. You can still do so, by the way, but, you know, we're diving into this. We're seeing bust outs left, right, and center here. We're saying goodbye to Dan Shack. Overall, what were the events like? Were your opponents as sharp as you expected? Did you see people, you know, improve their games during the pandemic? Was there anything that stood out from your return to live poker?
Yeah, you could definitely tell people were still sharp. A lot of people were putting in you could tell we're putting in a lot of work over the last, year and a half or whatever. Yeah, there was a good mix of pros, amateurs, people who, are enjoying themselves and maybe not putting in as much work as some of the other people. But no, yeah, there's definitely a lot of great players who have, worked on their game a lot.
Were you surprised at the turnouts? We had 99 players as the most for 10K, and both the 25 and the 50K had great turnouts. Were you surprised to see that, or was that sort of your expectation?
I wasn't really sure what to expect. Definitely, I wasn't expecting that big. Although it seems like all of the events that have been coming back lately have been doing really well, like Florida Series or Vegas tournaments or this or that. But yeah, it was definitely, it was a great turnout, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, for these final tables, you obviously play against a lot of the players that you have a lot of history with. Were there any players new to you in a way that you had to really learn as you went through this series about their playing style?
Yeah, there was some players who I hadn't seen before, and maybe still don't even really know who they are. I was kind of surprised to see in like some bigger buy-in events to see, people who never really played big buy-ins before and then kind of, come out. But yeah, it's always interesting playing with people you've never played before. You don't know their tendencies. You don't have any history. So it's kind of like an extra dynamic trying to figure things out of what their playing style is and stuff like that.
Right. Was there any rust yourself playing live again after so long? Were there any funny things because you've been mostly playing online?
I think the first event, like, I mean, I think it quickly, but like maybe like the first orbit or something of coming back, it felt like a little weird after, not playing for over a year and a half. But I mean, I've been playing so much poker in the last year and a half online. So as far as like poker goes, there wasn't really any rust, but I think quickly, like, the first few hands get dealt, you kind of shake a little of the rust off, and then it's just like riding a bike. You just get right back into it.
Right. Obviously, a big part of winning events is winning all-ins, and you definitely won your share of all-ins in the right moments during this final table. Right now, we're watching at a hand that goes beyond the turn or beyond the flop. If you have any interesting thoughts, of course, always feel free to chime in, but I just want to mention that you're getting a lot of congrats in the chat across all platforms. Thank you guys so much for chiming in and sending your best wishes to David. You're also getting some questions. We're writing those questions down, and we'll get to those later in the show, but I do appreciate it. If everyone who has a question sends them in, I'll make sure to tackle those later in the show. By the way, everyone watching, please do let me know where you are watching from. We always love to know where our crowd is based, as this, of course, is the most international show in all of poker. From people from all over the world are always tuning in, which is something I highly appreciate. Is there anything special about this hand that we are watching right now?
This was interesting. I was surprised to see this hand that he chose to 3-bet with. I mean, I see the thought process. He's picking ace-2 off. I opened hijack with big chip lead. He 3-bet the cutoff with about 20 big blinds. I think his thought process is having the deuce in his hand unblocks a lot of my folds. So a lot of my, ace, just like low suited connectors, medium suited connectors, just like ace-7 off, ace-6, all those type hands. So I think he decided to choose the deuce as a 3-bet, which, I mean, I think that's too loose, and it's pretty out of line. But pre-flop, I definitely could have jammed. I think both plays are fine. Maybe jamming's better, but I decided to just call, and then on the flop, I check. He bet small. I just called, which I'm going to have a lot of pairs, a lot of ace highs, a lot of some king highs with backdoor flush draws that want to just continue. So I think I'm going to call this hand a lot. And then turn was check, and then on the river, I'm going to have plenty of medium pairs that just got counterfeited, and you're going to have to bluff at a good frequency. So I thought this was a pretty clear spot to just open jam for about half pot. And he tanked for a while and eventually folded. But yeah, this was an interesting hand. Yeah, maybe he thought I was, I don't know. That's a very light 3-bet, but maybe he thought I was raising too much, or I'm not really sure. But yeah, that was a good hand that added to my stack, so that was helpful.
From his perspective on the river, is there any merit in calling? Are you calling at all, a certain percentage of the time, or is it just with ICM in mind, just impossible for him to make the hero call?
No, this is definitely a reasonable spot to call, especially having the deuce in your hand. You don't, like, most of my bluffs are going to be, like I said, like pocket sixes, pocket, like those mid pair type hands, and not blocking any of those. This makes for a reasonable candidate, and I mean, you're gonna have so many. You're gonna have so many hands that are gonna block some of my hands, some of my bluffs, and I think blocking ace jack. I mean, it's a tough spot because a hand like ace king might be a better one, because now you block some king jack combos, some queen jack combos, and ace jack. So that's a pretty close, especially with ICM. That's a pretty tough spot.
Right.
I think I like this fold though.
Yeah, and this, of course, has you chipping up, giving you a commanding lead at this final table. As you guys will notice, we'll skip through a lot of the hands that David is not involved in to give you guys a bit of a taste of every single one of these final tables. As I mentioned before, we have all the footage available on PokerGo On Demand. All 12 event final tables are available there. And I want to mention, as you guys can see on the screen, subscribe to our new Run It Back Clips channel. The link is in the description, or just search for Run It Back Clips on YouTube. That channel will have the coolest clips from our Run It Back shows that we've done over the past year and a half. And if we get to 500 subscribers on the new channel, we will do a random draw to give away some signed decks of cards by Daniel Negreanu and Phil Hellmuth. So don't miss out on that, and subscribe to the Run It Back Clips channel. We have new clips out every week on that channel. 6-4 suited, coming in for the jam. For people that don't play at the highest level, they might see 6-4 and they think, oh my God, 6-4 suited. What is he doing? Give us the lowdown on what goes into shoving a hand like that.
I mean, yeah, when it folds to me on the small blind in that spot where I have a big chip lead, he has ICM implications that he needs to worry about. Brock, it looks like, had 12 big blinds. So I can just jam so many hands. 6-4 suited is going to be a clear all in that spot. Um, yeah, he just has to call. He's going to have to call way tighter than you normally can in a normal stage of a tournament. So it's just that's just going to be a clear shove.
So is there any hand too bad to shove in that situation?
Well, you can take some of the really bad hands and you can raise with it and not shove and just make a smallish raise. He still can't defend a raise as often as you normally can because if when you go to the flop in these spots, you're gonna bust a good percentage of the time. So a lot of these hands that you would normally call with do it versus small raise, you're just gonna have to fold. So you can take a lot of these really trashy hands and come in for a small raise, but then you still balance that out with the really good hands, especially like like big suited aces that play well post flop. So yeah, so in a spot like that, it wouldn't make too much sense to just shove like 7-2 off. I mean, you could, but I think going with a different strategy would be better.
Right. For some of the more beginning and sort of mid stakes players that are in our chat, I think myself included as well. What do you think the biggest difference maker is if you had to pick something to work on, leading up to maybe playing a few live events this summer or leading up to playing a bit more online? What are some of the biggest mistakes that players make, maybe at my level, with regards to things that they can easily improve upon?
The biggest mistake, I think maybe final table play, maybe ICM not giving it enough consideration, or maybe some people are giving it too much consideration. But I think trying to find a good strategy or an optimal way of playing in those situations would be good. Whereas maybe a lot of people never even really think about it, and they might just play a final table like the same way they would play a level 2 of a tournament. So, but you have to understand that there's different dynamics, and a lot of things can play much differently than normal. And you might see a hand at a final table that it might look weird, or a play that but you have to understand that there's a lot of other things going on, and it's not going to play the same as a normal other stages of the tournament. So
right.
Factoring that in, I think, is something that people maybe need to do more.
For someone at your level, how much active thinking is there going on during a final table like this, and how much of it is just almost like muscle memory, where you see cards, your stack, you know what to do? How much active thinking goes into decisions at a final table like this?
Yeah, there's still a lot of active thinking. I mean, a lot of it does come natural. You kind of just know what to do in a lot of situations, but you're still constantly counting people's stacks. You're thinking about what ranges you're going to play next hand. You're thinking about what kind of strategies you should be going with based on what the current chip stacks are, and how short the short stack is, and how much pressure you can apply, or how much you need to sit back and wait for the short stack to bust. Or I mean, and it's constantly changing too, because the stacks are constantly changing. And so one hand, someone might have 5 big blinds, the next hand he double up and now he has 10, 11 big blinds. So so there's still a lot of thinking. There's a lot of adjustments you're kind of trying to make in your head.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because if you practice the game so much, then clearly you're going to have a lot of things figured out. But there is so much that still changes on the fly that you sort of have to pay attention to. Does that also mean that you pride yourself in being exceptionally sharp at everything that's going on at the table? Because I see so many players on their phones or listening to music. When I see you, I always see you same posture, same sort of look in your eyes, always sort of focused. Is that a safe assumption, or do you also have moments where you sort of drift off a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I try to be as focused as I can, especially in big spots. I mean, maybe early stages of tournaments or of smaller binds, I'm not going to say that I'm 100% focused all the time. But no, I think as it gets deeper and you're in big spots, or if you're playing a big tournament, then I try to be very focused, and I try to And then, like these final tables, you're getting relayed like hands and stuff like that. So you're trying to see how people are playing hands, and then like you're thinking about how maybe you can adjust your strategy based on how this person just played a hand. And so yeah, there's a lot that goes into that too.
There's people in the chat wondering about your blinking at the table. I have not paid attention to this or noticed this, but people are wondering if you're aware of how you blink and whether or not that is something that you think about.
I'm blinking. I mean, no, I guess I'm aware of that. I feel like that's also something that I do kind of sometimes. Like people think they might have a tell on you or something like that. You might try and throw them off with something. You might kind of get in their head a little bit, like so maybe you might throw some false tells at them or stuff like that, and so now it gets people kind of thinking about other things other than the actual hand itself. So I mean that's something that I'll do here and there, but yeah,
I
I
love
guess
it. I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. We'll throw in another random question here right off the bat. Mitch is wondering if you have a favorite deli in Vegas.
favorite deli.
And let's expand it to coffee shop and pastry shop because I feel like those things are closely related.
Favorite deli. There's a place called Cafe Zupas that I really like. I get there a lot. Go there a lot. Really really nice sandwiches. Good coffee. Good, yeah. Some really really good food there. I like that.
Are you a home cooker? Are you a chef?
No, I can't cook. It's something I want to learn at some point, but I'm just too busy. There's just too many things going on to try and start learning to cook now. But at some point, I would definitely would like to. But
There's a lot of meal plans available nowadays, which makes life very easy.
yeah, that's what I was doing. That I had that for a while. I've been out of Vegas. I've been gone from Vegas for the last like 10 months or so. But before that, I had a meal plan, which is super convenient and nice, and you just have meals ready every day. So especially if you're playing, if you're working a lot or doing whatever. But so yeah, that was definitely nice to have.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and I think that that's definitely the way to go if you're busy all the time. For people in the chat, I see Rochelle, Carl, Jeanette, Christopher, Dionysus, Robbie, and Kevin. I appreciate you guys all watching on Facebook. We have Mitch and Nick and Noise Sauce, all our regulars in the chat on YouTube. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Sean Eno says, stayed with D. Peters in Vegas for 1 week back in 2008, 2009. He offered me a strip club free roll when I didn't want to go. What a legend! Shout out from Sean, David. That must be good to hear from an old friend.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while, but that's funny.
I had to drop that in there.
Yeah, great. I do. I remember that.
Oh, you remember that? That's even better. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Are you a bit of a partier? Because people sometimes seem to have the. I mean, you and I have been at the same parties, so I do not underestimate your ability to have a good time. But I feel as though people sometimes get the wrong idea because you're always so focused at the table. Are you a partier?
Yeah, I like to have fun. I'm very big on enjoying life and trying to find that balance between working hard but still having a good time. But yeah, so I definitely like. I don't think I'm like that like wild and crazy. I'm usually like I like to hang out with friends, have a few drinks, and like I'm more like chilling usually, but like still having a good time.
Right.
But yeah, no, I definitely like to get out there and have fun.
Yeah, I mean that's the way to go. And every now and then we just end up on the dance floor. That's just how life goes. And that builds a reputation, and you got to live up to it now.
I mean, I'm not a good dancer. I wouldn't say, but sometimes you gotta get out there and have fun.
Exactly, you gotta let loose. You gotta just gotta loosen up those ranges and just get after it. I appreciate that. We got a serious question also coming in from Ace TF on Twitch. He says, has a player ever gotten into your head? I remember you at the 100K FT taking a lot of comments from someone like Martin Cabral. So has a player ever gotten under your skin?
I mean, I guess Martin would be the most annoying person I've played against. But no, I don't think he's ever like affected my game or decisions or anything. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get in people's heads, and maybe maybe it does work sometimes. But I mean, I'm not gonna let something stupid like that like affect my game. Like I'm just gonna go out there and try and make good decisions. But yeah, no, there can be some people who are annoying to play with.
So everyone who's watching right now, give up the shtick. David is not going to play worse by yelling at him. So you can all just, chill out and lay back and don't worry about it. Quick shout out to one of our sponsors on the show today, Global Poker, free poker at its best. Go check out globalpoker.com if you want to play for free. They are supporting the show, and you guys can support them by checking them out, and leave a comment down below if you enjoy playing on Global Poker, free poker at its best. Heads up here against Jared Jaffe. You had a big lead, and now throughout the course of this heads up battle, he got pretty close to even stacks. What's your opinion on Jaffe? Of course, we don't see him in every high roller, but every now and then he does pop up, and he has some nice results.
He plays well. I think he picks and chooses. He's more picky with which high rollers he plays, which is smart. Sometimes like you should avoid maybe like the smaller field ones or tougher, like super reggy ones. So like game selection is important for sure. But yeah, no, he's fun guy to like play with, and fun guy to hang out with too. But yeah, he's a good player. But yeah, he's always tough to play against.
In a heads up scenario, and you closed it out 3 times during the US Poker Open. In a heads up scenario, do you feel extra confidence because you've been there so many times and you've been able to close out in a lot of big spots?
I think I'm confident in these situations. I don't think I ever feel like the pressure, or I think I'm just regardless of what the stakes are, what's on the line. I feel like I always just go out and just play my best, play my game. But yeah, since having been there like so many times, it definitely helps. But I think mostly just all the endless amount of hours I've just a preparation putting into heads up poker to get ready for these situations. It always makes me feel confident and ready once that moment comes.
Question coming in on YouTube from Love to Trade. He says, does David possess any white magic, or do you mainly rely on GTO wizardry?
White magic? I don't know if I have much white magic, but no, I mean, I think it's a mix. It's I think mostly it's just going to be from my preparation and just understand knowing how to approach all these different situations. But there's still plenty of times where I'm going to like deviate or play a hand differently than I'm quote unquote should play based on one reason or another. Maybe the guy's playing a certain way, or he's acting a certain way, or this or that. But as far as like maybe the physical tells or stuff like that, I probably not as like into that as some of the other people are. I'm more of just understanding situations and acting accordingly.
Right. So you don't have like a little notebook where, it says like Corey Aldemir, eyebrow thing, Daniel Negreanu, the thing with his finger, sort of.
I mean, I have some notes and stuff like that, but
yes.
Yeah, I'm not like, I don't know. I try not to take it too far. People take it too far, I think. And then they wind up just making all these decisions based on something. I don't know. The guy's earlobe was twitching. It's like, so now I'm going to just do something dumb because I assume that this is a reliable tell. It's like, I don't know. You need a lot of data points to figure out if that's actually a legit thing or not. And it's very difficult to get that, especially in live poker. So I try not to take it too far, but you still keep an eye out for things.
One of the funniest live tell situations ever was a friend of mine who busted a tournament because he thought he saw a live tell, so he called the guy down because he thought the guy was bluffing, but he forgot to realize that he didn't have a good hand himself, so the guy was actually bluffing with a better hand. So he was like, he was proud of being right about his tell, but he still busted.
Yeah, that's a problem. When you lose a lot of hands that are bluffing with, then you probably shouldn't call.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Questions coming in. Obviously, this is a common theme in the high roller scene. People are wondering: do you play all yourself? Do you sell any action? And how does that work for you?
Yeah, I have all my action. I haven't really sold much the last few years, but you still swap with some of the really good players to kind of lower the variance and reduce your risk while still keeping much bigger piece of myself than the swap, so like it doesn't affect any you're not like tempted to affect any decisions or anything like that. So, but no, I've been usually have all my action.
Right. For the upcoming WSOP, I see a couple of questions about it. Do you still care about the World Series of Poker? Do you still, get out of bed excited to play, maybe an event smaller than a 5K? How do you look at that?
Yeah, no, I still enjoy it. I still care. I'm gonna kind of see how I feel this summer. I'm kind of just gonna go day by day as far as if I'm gonna play 1500 or this or that. Also depends on maybe what else is going on. There could be conflicts. So, but no, I mean, I still enjoy it. I still like playing those kind of fields. It's a different dynamic than what I'm usually playing. Like if I'm usually playing high rollers, so it's kind of fun to mix things up and play against a bunch of people who you maybe have never played with before, and kind of can still enjoy it and have fun, even if it's much smaller stakes than I'm used to. But yeah, I still enjoy it.
Yeah, it's always cool to see the high roller players like yourself at the World Series of Poker, because I feel like it has a certain intimidation factor to the players at your table, especially those that watch all the high rollers, because they think that you guys are on this whole different sort of plane when they're playing. Do you notice that players, maybe because they know you, come after you or avoid you in any sort of way because of what they've seen on TV?
Yeah, you definitely notice stuff like that. Sometimes people kind of go out of their way to say they beat so and so in a big pot. So you have to kind of try and keep an eye out for that. And then a lot of people try to just avoid you altogether or avoid playing big pots and kind of try and keep things smaller. But yeah, you definitely notice quite a bit of that, especially the more and more well known you become, which is, I think, probably a big reason why Helmuth, I mean, not to take anything away, but is going to be a good reason why he's done so well. Is maybe gets a lot of people to just do very dumb things versus him because he's just super well known. He's Phil Helmuth, so it kind of just like if people were just playing their normal games and just like then it might be different. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic.
We're watching a pretty epic hand here right now. The craziest way to cool someone when you play heads up is to both make very strong hands. What was going through your mind in this spot? I can only assume it's, how am I going to get every last chip during this hand?
Yeah, this is obviously this is a great run out. Yeah, I limpy checked. I bet small on the flop standard. He called just a standard. On the turn, how big did I go? Yeah, I mean on the turn, I'm gonna go a pretty big size here usually. 2/3 pots, that's reasonable. And yeah, there really wasn't too many tough decisions in this spot. I guess the river, I definitely could have just jammed. I think I forget how big I went. But yeah, here for him on the turn here, I like his call. We're still very deep. I can have plenty of flushes. I can have full houses. You don't want to put too much money. Better forex. You don't want to put too much money in that spot, especially without a club, by raising the turn too often. So I like his call. River, I definitely could have just jammed, but I decided to go post like maybe pocket threes, pocket jacks, or nut flush type hands would make for better jams because now it's more likely he has a four, but when I have a four in my hand, it's less likely he has a four. So I didn't want to go too big, and that didn't know if he would call me at maybe the correct frequency if I jammed. So I decided to just go 2.8 million, which I thought was a reasonable sizing.
Right.
and he very quickly called.
So is I mean, this might be very small nuance stuff, but what's the decision between betting 2.8 and putting him all in? Is there a distinct sort of way in which you think about that, or is that maybe a little bit of randomization? Like how do you come to
Yeah,
that
I mean,
point?
there's sometimes there's some randomization and kind of just it varies based on maybe what you might think about your opponent as far as what sizing you might pick. So maybe you think certain people might overfold to certain sizes, or maybe you think certain people will call too much versus certain sizes, or things like that. So that's going to factor in. I guess I wasn't sure if he would call often enough, with like Jack X, if I jammed um, Jack X type hands. So yeah, so I decided to not jam, but still find a small over bet, and yeah, I think it was reasonable.
Yeah. Obviously, the next hand you pick up ace eight, and if I recall correctly, Jaffe moved, or you moved all in, and he made the call with the king deuce. King deuce offsuit in his spot there with 12 big blinds. Like, is that the like? What's the cutoff point there to make the call against you? You'd say.
Um, King two off is pretty. I mean, it's close. I forget if he snap called, but I mean, it's pretty close. The big blind ante, makes it. I mean, there's so much out there, so it's going to be difficult to fold many King X, but King two off is still pretty borderline. You might want to fold that one, but it's pretty close.
Right.
But yeah, I think maybe. Yeah, maybe he thinks I'm jamming a little wider than I actually am. With the format, I'm going to be doing a lot of limping in that spot you know, to kind of balance my range out to where I can limp a ton of hands. But ace eight off is the type of hand where that makes for a better jam than limp. But yeah, I mean, I think his call it's whatever, it's fine. 12 bit. He might also kind of want to reduce the variance a little bit, I guess. Or kind of take a little more gambly spot. Maybe hasn't played like a ton of heads up, especially with the big blind ante format, which is a format that not many people have much experience playing. So it kind of makes things different. Like if you whether you know or not, like if they have experience in that format, because online there's never a full big blind ante, so it's kind of makes it for interesting dynamic.
Right. Well, that was enough to close the first event out. You won event number 7, which was a 10K no limit hold'em. Right now, we are watching short deck, 10K short deck event, four-handed, 4 places paid, the smallest event of the series. Personally, I know very little about short deck. I also am not a fan of the game to watch or to play. That's no slight to your accomplishment, but the game to me is just a little bit funny. I'd much rather watch, the Cadillac no limit hold'em, or even some mixed games for me in particular. Before we dive back into some questions from the chat, because I see some good ones coming in, you guys please keep those going. I just want to point out that we are watching the 2021 US Poker Open that just wrapped up a few days ago. David Peters is the USPO champion, in case you've been living under a rock, and he is taking questions today about this event, about his life, about his career, and we are just going to watch these 3 final tables and pick out some highlights to dive into. David, what's your relationship with the game of short deck? Have you spent much time studying? Do you enjoy the game, and what are your thoughts on it?
I was studying it a good amount, but it's been a couple years, to be honest. Once the no limit action picked up, I was like, my plans were I was studying a good amount and working on a lot of situations, and my plan was to really put in a lot of time and get really good, and then the no limit action just kind of was just so crazy, and so that kind of you know derailed plans a little bit. So I came into this event pretty rusty, because I hadn't really worked on short deck much for the last couple of years. So it was interesting trying to, remember some of the, the preparation I was doing from years ago, and working and trying to remember some of the, like different pre-flop situations and things like that with a game you're not super familiar with. So it was an interesting tournament situation.
What's the give me the best thing about short deck and the worst thing about short deck? Because I feel like there's not many people watching right now that have even played this game, much of anything, because it's hard to find if you're playing low stakes. So what are your thoughts?
The best thing about short deck is, um, I mean, you get to play a lot of hands. You get to see a lot of flops. With the ante format is different. Maybe you know them hold them. You have to do a lot of folding. But yeah, you get to see a lot of flops. It's fun. There's a lot of it, there's obviously there's no deuce through five, so takes some of there's more action. There's more action flops. There's a lot of people have big hands very often, so it's more exciting in that sense, and it's not like these boring bottom pair versus ace high type things, or you're just completely whiffed. So you catch a piece of the flop a lot more often, so you have more possibilities more often, but make things that can be a problem for some people though if they overvalue these kind of hands, these kind of draws. But from like a fun standpoint, it's more fun to connect with the board more often.
And then is there also a negative side to this game? Maybe because the variance is so high, you end up gambling a lot, but maybe some players appreciate that aspect of it.
Yeah, that would be a negative. It's tough to get it in really good pre-flop. So if you're like if you get it all in with aces, or you get it on with these a really good hand pre-flop, I mean, you're not that big of a favorite versus most of the hands, versus anything really. So I guess that can be frustrating to people if they're gonna have their aces cracked a lot more often. You're gonna get it on with 10-9 offsuit, and like you're really just not that big of a favorite. And so I think that would be one of the negatives if people aren't used to that, or that could be a frustrating thing. But I guess if you understand that, and like you understand that there's a lot of gambling going on, and then it's fine.
So Brent Hanks on the broadcast said that short deck is now officially dead because of the turnout for this event, which was one of the lowest ones. Do you feel as though this game has a future? Do you feel like it belongs in these high roller festivals?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it just depends on the demand. I thought this would have got a better turnout, but I know they really like it in Asia. Maybe it's not quite caught on that well yet over here, but so it might just be like a thing where it's only part of like the Asian high roller series, and not over here in America. But no, I think it'll still be around, and maybe eventually it'll gradually pick up some steam and become more popular.
Right. It's definitely a game that is creating a lot of excitement, a lot of big all-ins. So if you're into that, then definitely fun. If you are unlucky with aces, you might be watching and you might never win with aces, then this is maybe not the game for you, because aces get cracked a lot, which is definitely painful. Let's see what else we got to get into. Guys in the chat, guys and girls, please send in more questions if you have them. I do love asking them. I saw an interesting question coming in here about playing drunk, which I'm curious about. Does alcohol affect your game? Have you ever, had a drink in an important spot to calm the nerves? And how strong is your drunk game?
How strong is my drunk game? I never drink while I play. I mean, maybe like have like something at the end of the day or something like that. But I'm never like playing drunk. But I think sometimes I get for lower buy-ins or when I'm having fun. But I think my drunk game's pretty strong. I think try to keep it to the smaller buy-ins. But no, I think I still play pretty well, and still have all the, and it's more fun. People are having a good time. So yeah, I think it's fun.
If I stumble into a random poker room, at an odd hour, and I see you messing around at the lower stakes, Are the wheels still turning, or are we just gambling and having fun?
I mean, you're mostly having fun, but you're still like it's still in me to it's hard to just not throw it all away. I guess like you're still gonna be like if you're playing the game, like I'm still gonna be like thinking about oh what I'm supposed to do here. It's like maybe I try not to like take it too seriously, but you're still gonna like still put your normal thought process partially your normal thought process into it,
Right.
even though you're still just having fun. But.
Do you have any good fun like drunk poker stories? Has that happened a lot?
Yeah, I was in maybe not too many. I know I was in New Orleans one time for a bachelor party. I mean, it's not like it was super fun, but we ended up just like going to a casino at like 3 a.m. We're all just I was with a few friends and we were playing like 1-3 or something. Just like buying for the max, and we're just like playing all these fun pots and these a couple of the people like recognized who I was and recognized like a couple of the I was with it was with Jonathan Little, Shan Shore, a couple other guys, and yeah, so it was fun like how they kind of recognized us and they're just like wondering like what the hell's going on? Why are they playing? Why are they in New Orleans playing 1-3 right now? It's 4 a.m. on a Tuesday. So yeah, so we're having fun. We're all having drinks and having a good time. But yeah, that was a fun night.
That's fantastic. I would pay serious money to watch you and Jonathan Little play Drunk Heads Up because you guys both come across so professional and so serious. So a Drunk Heads Up match between you two would probably be a lot of fun to watch. Sort of out of your element. Still trying to keep it serious somehow. That'd be
John. He's a fun. He's a character when he drinks. So that would be an entertaining match.
I love that. I love hearing that. I'm gonna organize a night of drunk poker during WSOP and we all just come out and play some 1-3 or maybe I'll even swindle you guys and playing some mixed games with us just to have some fun. I saw a mixed game related question earlier. Someone mentioned, and I can't find your name right now, if you ever would consider getting into the mixed games, and my question then becomes, is it worth it to get good at mixed games so you can play in a game like Bobby's Room?
I guess I'm not. I've always like considered it. I think I just never. I think the no limit games have always they just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and like you're playing against the best players in the world who are also getting better all the time. So I guess it never really made enough sense for me to devote so much time to where I'm actually getting to the point where I'm a really good player and able to do well at the high stakes. So yeah, I think it's a very big commitment to try and get to that. Like I could put in a good amount of work and like become okay and then play it. But like as far as like trying to like get to the point where I'm actually like beating these high stakes, these nosebleed games for a good amount, it's like that would take a lot of time and energy and effort, and that would affect my no limit game. So I guess it just never really made sense for me personally. But I don't know, maybe someday I will, make a, really good effort to try and get good. But I guess we'll just see what happens.
And the biggest issue, of course, with that is that with regards to mixed games, it's either sky high stakes or no games at all. So it's not like you can just like get your feet wet playing 5100.
Yeah, exactly. So so I would need to grind out a lot at like low stakes, and like so that's costing me my hourly of playing no limit to tournaments or whatever, and just affecting my no limit games. So I just maybe if these no limit buy-ins would ever slow down, there's just 250K coming up, there's $1 million tournament. I mean, there's just so many big buy-ins, and it's like I would just rather just keep trying to increase my ROIs in those than get better at mixed.
Right. It is sort of crazy. Like when I first covered you in an event, probably back in 2009 or something like that, the high rollers were few and far between. I remember, I think it was at PCA, Eugene Ketchloff winning the first ever 100K. And now all of a sudden, I feel like every like neighborhood casino is organizing their own festival of high rollers. Do you think that the growth that we've seen is sustainable with these events? Do you think there's even more room on the calendar to do more of them, or do you think we're sort of reaching the limits of what that high stakes economy can sort of organize and hold?
Um, I think I think maybe sometimes it started to get to be a little too much, and I think maybe some of the casinos noticed that, so maybe scaled back a little. But it's tough to say. I think the demand it seems like it's mostly been there for for as long as they've been running. I think I don't really see it slowing down. And maybe eventually it'll get to a point. I mean, there's always new people coming into poker. A lot of people enjoy the game. A lot of businessmen who really enjoy it and like to take their chances at tournaments and like to play against the best players. It's a challenge to them, which yeah, definitely understand that. So I mean, I think it's just it's gonna just keep going, kind of the way it has been, and maybe maybe not as much as maybe it has in the past. They're probably taking it a little too far at some points, where it's just too much and just nonstop. And then like now, some of the people are losing, um, losing quite a bit pretty quickly. So I think you just have to kind of. It's really tough to predict. I think it's just going to vary. There's going to be times where the action's great, and then there's gonna be times where it slows down, and you kind of just have to adjust and see how the current climate is at that time, and just see how things go. It's really tough to predict.
Could you be strictly an online tournament pro these days and have make a good living doing so, or are the live big buy-ins just too juicy and too good for you to fully commit to online poker?
Yeah, I think I enjoy live poker too much. I enjoy the high rollers, these really big buy-ins, too much to just sit and play online. I think I could, still make a good living if I strictly played online, but I don't really enjoy it as much. I like kind of mixing things up. Sometimes you play online, sometimes play live, traveling to different cities and things like that. I still always enjoy that. So yeah, I don't see myself ever just strictly being an online player.
Right, and of course, the food's really good at the PokerGo Studio, so it's a pretty easy decision to keep coming back.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, playing at PokerGo Studio, it's comfortable. I mean, it's quiet. It's a really nice place to play. You have food delivered to you, so it's like, I mean, yeah, it's not like it's a bad environment or anything. So yeah, it's relaxing, and yeah, it's a nice place to play.
Question coming in from Jeanette, which is in line with what you just said. He says, "What's your favorite poker room in Vegas?" I'm gonna assume PokerGo Studio, but if you had to maybe add a name to that list, do you have any good memories of any place in particular?
Definitely PokerGo is number one. It's just so comfortable. You have basketball games on. You have nice TVs. There's no slot machine noise. You have great. It's very well run. I mean, you have food delivered to you. You don't. It's just. There's a free bar for people who play the tournaments. You can go have drinks on break or after you bust, and yeah, it's just like it's basically just like the perfect poker room. But another good one. I know Montreal. Montreal has a really comfortable poker room. I liked it there. I haven't been there in a little while and haven't been there too often, but yeah, that was always like a nice, comfortable place, and comfortable chairs and everything. And yeah, I think those are the two of them that are up there.
Awesome. Question coming in on Twitch from Sydney Aussie. Pretty obvious that this question is coming from Sydney Aussie. He says Michael Adamo is considered the top online player. What are your thoughts on playing against him? And do you rate him very highly as well?
Yeah, he's a very good player. Very tough to play against. Puts you in a lot of tough spots. Can be very relentless and apply a lot of pressure. So you have to really be prepared. You can't kind of relax and sit back when you're playing pots with him, because he's capable of doing anything. He's capable of having the really big overbet shove on the river spot, or overbet. Like a lot of these situations, maybe you don't you don't have to face too often from people who might play, I guess, a little more straightforward. He'll definitely put you in some difficult spots. Yeah, he's definitely up there as one of the better players for sure.
Right. A follow-up question as well from Sydney in the Twitch chat. He says, basically summarizing his question, do good opponents make you play and focus better versus when you play in a field where you might not feel as challenged?
Yeah. I think when you're playing against really good players, it forces you to keep you on your A game, and it forces you to be ready and prepared and ready to face anything. Whereas, because these good players they're capable of putting you in some really awkward spots, and you wanna pay attention to see some of the things they're doing, because they might do that same thing to you later at a point. So if you see a 4x pot overshove in the spot or something like that, like you want to pay attention, you want to see what kind of hand he's showing up with, and yeah, so it definitely forces you to really be on your A game when you're at a table full of really good players, because you want to make sure you're not missing much, and make sure you're really focused.
Right. For the people who are just tuning in on Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube, we are live in 3 places. Please know we are watching the 2021 U.S. Poker Open that just wrapped up. David Peters is joining me. He is the champion of the U.S. Poker Open, winning the Golden Eagle Trophy. And we are watching the highlights of the 3 final tables that he managed to win. Right now, we are into the 10K short deck event, heads up against Ali Imsirovic. And then after this, we're going to have the 25K final table still to come as well. If you have any questions, please send them into the chat. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel. I do this show once a week. Hopefully next week, fingers crossed, Sean Winter on the show to watch the 50K final table from the US Poker Open, which should be a lot of fun as well. And I want to mention that Global Poker is our sponsor on the show today. Free poker at its best. Go check out globalpoker.com. Go check it out. Leave a comment down below if you enjoyed the action on Global Poker. Free poker at its best. Don't miss out on that. All right, keep those questions coming. I'm going to ask David all about it, and we'll dive into some more stuff here. Verboten11 on Twitch asked, David, do you specifically scout other players' ranges using hand histories?
Do I scout other people's ranges using hand? Yeah, I try to. Yeah, I definitely try to look at hand histories, look at what hands people show up with in pots, and try to take a note of it or a mental note of it, and gives you a better idea of how if they're far off of the kind of ranges they should be using, and then so you know how to adjust your own ranges versus them. If someone's way too out of line or someone's way too tight, then you're gonna have to. Those are very good piece of information to have for when you play against them. So yeah, I try to keep an eye out for that and pay attention to see what people show down with. So so I'm more prepared to have a better range when I play against them.
The hand in question that we are watching right now from the 10K short deck final table is probably by far the most interesting hand of this entire final table. So I'm going to skip back a little bit so we can take this hand from the top, because I definitely have some questions about it. David, your heads up against Ali Imsirovic here in the 10K short deck. He has Queen 8, you have Jack 10. Walk us through your thought process in this hand.
Okay, so yeah, so he limped. There's gonna be a ton of limping, not really a ton of raising, and still a decent amount, but there's gonna be a very heavy limp strategy from his situation. Still folding a lot of the trashy like 6x, 7x type hands. So he can have it's tough to know exactly. Yeah, he can have a lot of hands. So and Jack 10, once he limps, it's a hand where you don't really want to raise and then get jammed on, because we're with that many antes. So I decided to check, and then once that flop comes down, that's a great board for his range, because I'm raising all of these aces, jacks. You can have some king queen, whereas I still have all these trashy 6x 7x type hands in my range, so that's a great board for his range. So he's going to be doing a lot of betting in that spot. So he bet. It's 2 week to raise. So I just call. Turn he went with the over bet, I believe, right?
Yeah, 450 into 300.
300, yeah. So so my hand's too good. Yeah, so my hand's a clear call here. I think there's so many like hands like he has queen 8, queen 9, 9 8. You know, there's just a lot of you can still apply pressure with even worse like just bear king like king 9, king 9, king 8 type hands, because I have so many just bare one pair hands that with bad kickers, like being on the button with how wide my range is pre-flop, and how I don't have a lot of these very strong hands. So this is going to be a situation where he can apply a lot of pressure. He can overbet that turn very often. River. Yeah, so on the river, I like his play. He's going to have to do that with the hand a good frequency. Blocking king queen, which is a hand I can check back pre-flop a decent amount. So once he goes all in, there's just this is just going to be a great hand to call with. I honestly, pretty much in my head, I think like the second he went all in, it was basically I kind of just like knew I was calling right away. But you still want to, when you have 8 timings or whatever, you still want to really think through the hand and everything. But yeah, so this is just a really good hand to have. You not having like a 9 or queen in my hand, blocking all these queen 8, queen 9 type hands, blocking 10s, blocking jacks. This is just a great combo to call with. So yeah, I don't think I can. And I guess part of it, like it's like maybe he could be bluffing with queens, which would be a disaster. Obviously, if I call, so that crossed my mind. Having 2 queens in his hand, he has a good amount of blockers to king queen, but I don't think ultimately I decide he wouldn't really ever pick that hand as a bluff. So yeah, I think this is just a great hand to call with, and fortunately, he had one of the type of hands that he's going to be bluffing with quite a bit. So yeah, it worked out.
Yeah, definitely worked out for you. That gave you the title in the 10K short deck event. So 2 wins, and with that also the lead in the championship, the race for the U.S. Poker Open title. When a series like this is ongoing, of course, until you win one event, you don't really have to think about winning the title. But then when you win 2 events, are you sweating the leaderboard and trying to figure out who's going deep in what event to sort of see if you can maybe win it?
You're sweating it a little bit. You're kind of anti-sweating some people who have points, but I mean, ultimately, it's kind of just out of your control. Like, it's not really going to change anything. So I guess I wasn't like following it too much. Ultimately, I'm just gonna. I mean, if it like affects my decision to whether or not to play a certain event that maybe I otherwise wouldn't. But I was kind of just following a little bit here and there, but ultimately I'm still just going to play all the events anyway. So I was just gonna all you just got to control what you can control. Just go out there and play your game and try and just do well in each tournament, and then let whatever happens basically.
Right, and at this final table of the 25K, of course, tons of money at stake. This is a big final table. We're going to watch the highlights here with David Peters, the winner of the 2021 US Poker Open. In case you guys are just tuning in, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll be with you here until the end of this final table. So we got about half an hour left on the show, so don't go anywhere. And please send your questions in for David. Taking a few questions here from YouTube. Jesse asks, David, what's your study routine like?
My study routine. Basically, I'm studying. It's not like a specific routine, but no, I'm studying a lot of I do a lot of work with PO Solver. Basically, just kind of looking at all kinds of different situations. I mean, there's just endless amount of things so I'm kind of just going situation by situation, just try and keep fresh on how I should be reacting on this type of board, that type of board, switching the ranges up, switching the stack depths up, kind of just, and but then a lot, while you're looking at the program, you're thinking about why certain hands do certain things, and that opens your mind up to the reasons for it rather than just kind of trying to memorize it type thing. So yeah, so it's kind of just I'm looking at a lot of pre-flop situations. There's this program called Munker Solver that I work with quite a bit. So looking at pre-flop situations, looking at unique pre-flop situations, and just again looking at why the why of why certain hands do this and why certain hands do that. Thinking about when I should deviate from these ranges based on how certain other people are playing, and why that it would make sense to do this rather than that. So I mean, there's just kind of just a lot. But yeah, I just try to find that balance of playing. I play quite a bit, and then still mixing in a lot of time on my computer, putting in that work, which I think is very important. And that preparation it's huge for getting ready for these, especially playing against people who are going to be playing very well, and like they're going to be playing optimally and good ranges and good strategies. So it's more motivation to really try and stay sharp when you're playing against people like that.
Right. So how many hours a week would you say you put in if you're not playing live versus when you are? And is this about also note taking, and do you have tons and tons of sheets you go over? Like how does that work?
Yeah, I make a lot of spreadsheets that I study, a lot of just a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of try to take pictures, just kind of things to make it easier to study, put it in a format to where I can speed up the study process and make it more efficient. As far as how many hours a week, it varies. It kind of depends on what is going on. Sometimes it's just crazy busy. Last year it was, or I guess before the pandemic. Yeah, so it was just it was crazy. There was some big games going on online, and I was basically working 17 hours a day for months. It was just nonstop. So sometimes you have times like that where you're just you don't do it. You just turn your life off and just I'm just I don't do anything else. And then you might do that for several months, and it's like, okay, I need to kind of rebalance it a different way. So maybe take some time off, so it kind of it can vary quite a lot. But on average, I think I'm still working crazy amounts, maybe I don't know, maybe averaging 80 hours a week or something like that.
Wow.
80 to 90, 100. I don't even know. It varies, but yeah, I've always worked very, very hard. And yeah, especially when there's always so many big tournaments coming up, I'm always just kind of obsessing about preparing for them and really putting in those hours. And it makes it more difficult to put in those hours when you're traveling so much, because there's so much time spent in airports and playing live tournaments and this and that. But yeah, no, I definitely put in a lot of hours.
For the people that are watching the stream right now, we are in the middle of a crazy hand, Vanessa Kate versus Ivan Zufic. We will make sure to post that hand on our YouTube and Facebook channel probably next week somewhere, because it's definitely worth its own time. Of course, David wasn't in the hand, but you folded king queen before the flop. Very, very smart. We got some more questions on Twitch here as well. Mark from NC says, do you make mistakes often, and are there hands from the USPO you look back on and that make you think wow, I really messed up there in hindsight?
No, I mean, I definitely make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. It's a game where you're never going to play perfectly. There's always, there's just millions and millions. There's endless amounts of possible scenarios and situations. So it's going to be impossible to be 100% right, to know exactly what to do in every spot. So you're always going to make mistakes. But I was pretty happy with. I can't really think of any big mistakes that I like regret or anything like that. There's been like a few spots here and there where I was like unsure. I felt like may have been a mistake, and then I went home and he ran the situation or kind of looked at the spot, and it ended up being like a well played hand. So like, that's always nice to like see that you had a really tough, difficult decision, and and then that you played it well. But yeah, I guess I'm sure there was some costly mistakes. Nothing are coming to mind right now, but yeah, no, I think overall I was happy with the way I played.
Right, and of course, when you win 3 events, that is the sort of vibe that you should take away from a tournament series, because then clearly things were all going your way. Let's see, we got some more questions here. Okay, we handled that. Okay, thank you guys all so much. I appreciate that. Don't forget to like this video, follow our channel on Twitch, like our page on Facebook, and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. I know it's a bit confusing having it live on 3 platforms, but that way at least we can get as many people as possible involved in the action. Let's see what else we got here. Lewis is asking a question on YouTube. Lewis, I'm going to rephrase it just a little bit. How do you work on your mental game? How do you stay strong mentally, maybe when things aren't going well, or when you're going through tough stretches of swings as far as your bankroll goes? How do you stay on top of the mental game of poker?
I try to do things like eat healthy. I've been going to the gym consistently. Just trying to just not like do things that are stressing you out, or try to find that good balance where you're in a good place, like where you're not like stressing out about something in your life, or you're not worrying so much about this or that, and just trying to have a balanced life and lifestyle, and not let things get to you too much, and just kind of always I'm always like reminding myself that maybe, okay, so some bad things happen or unfortunate things happen in poker, but then you kind of like sit back and like kind of like realize like you have a great life. You're very fortunate to be alive, even just to be alive, just have clean water, clean a bed to sleep in. Like, I mean, there's just so many things you take for granted. So I try to constantly remind myself of that. And then you pretty quickly snap out of it, and you realize, it's not that big of a deal if I lost some money, or if this or that happened, like ultimately, life is still really good. So I'm not going to let this affect me.
Right. That's a very good approach and mindset to a lot of things in life. Here you are 4-bet shoving all in with ace queen suited, cutoff button situation versus Vanessa Cade. You raise, she 3-bets to 320. You shove all in for what looks like 30 big blinds. Pretty standard situation, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it was a pretty standard hand. I mean, cutting versus button at 30 big blinds. These hands are usually gonna get it in. So I was fortunate enough to win the flip, but yeah, it was it's kind of just like a big hand versus big hand situation.
So 30 big blinds for people that are playing at my level, that might seem like a lot to shove. Oh, I have 30 big blinds. It's only ace queen suited. Has that evolved? Have the amount of big blinds you can shove there, because of the help of solvers, have those amounts gone up, and the perception of how these hands play before the flop?
Yeah, I think gradually over the years, people start to figure out more and more that it's maybe not as many chips as it seems. It's not like once you figure out like how big the pot is, and how much is out there, and like what your equities are and stuff like that. It's I think it's becoming more common that you can you're still picking up a big percentage of your stack, even if you reshove 30 big blinds. Someone opens and you just go all in, like, whereas maybe a decade ago or whenever that wasn't really happening much at all. So yeah, I mean, the game is always evolving. People are figuring things out. They're studying situations more. They're they're just looking more at the massive aspect of everything. And the game's always, and the game's going to keep evolving. I mean, if you look 10 years from now, I mean, people are going to be way better than they currently are. I mean, the game's always just going to keep getting tougher and tougher, and yeah.
So, do you think that poker has become more aggressive because of solvers?
Yeah. Well, let me backtrack. When I said poker is going to keep getting tougher and tougher, I meant there's always still going to be new people coming to the game. But as far as like the highest level, people are going to continue to get better, but everyone's going to get better as well. So people are going to understand things more. But yeah, as far as solvers, it does make the game more aggressive. People are learning new strategies, you know, new bet sizes, new plays that maybe they didn't realize were good before, but then they see a solver do it, and then they start to think about it, and it's like, and so yeah, I definitely think it's made the game more aggressive because there's so many different things that you can do that people didn't really think that people previously thought were bad, or maybe they thought you needed to have this kind of hand to make this kind of play, and then maybe you see a solver show you that you don't need to have that type of hand. So then now you can sort of make a lot of different plays with different kind of hands. So yeah, I definitely think it's made the game more aggressive. Sure.
In the situation, you raise from the small blind onto Vanessa Cade's big blind. She decides to shove with ace eight offsuit, thinking that your range obviously is going to include a lot more hands than just the ace king. How do you feel about the spot that she was in, given that she opted to shove there? She is the short stack, or she's one of the short stacks, but it's pretty close there at the bottom. Seems like a big risk, small reward type scenario from my perspective.
No, I think that was that's a good kind of hand to shove with in that spot. It's there's not she was like you said, she's the shortest stack, but I mean I can just be raising so many hands in that situation. I also have worse hands that I can raise call with, like the king queen suited type hands, and it's just a hand that doesn't play too well post flop, and like you can get called by sevens, sixes kind of hands and still be in fine shape. Having an ace in her hand makes it less likely that I have these ace king, ace queen suited, or whatever. There's all these big ace x type hands. So yeah, no, I think that was that was a fine shove.
Okay, that's good to know. We're learning every day here on the Run It Back Show. For the people that are just tuning in, we are watching back the 2021 U.S. Poker Open. We're going through 3 final tables. This is our last one of the night, and this is David Peters joining us. He, of course, the 2021 U.S. Poker Open champion. We're just reliving some of the action. All 12 final tables of the U.S. Poker Open are available exclusively in full length on PokerGO, as well as our entire library of poker content, including High Stakes Poker, the World Series of Poker, Poker After Dark, all that stuff is available. And we have a new series coming up called the PokerGO Cup starting on July 5th. We're going to have live streams starting on July 6th. I believe it runs for 8 straight days of live streaming action of those final tables. And then we go into the 100K PokerGO Heads Up Championship, which I believe David is also going to play, along with 31 other players, so 32 players in that heads up format, and that's going to make for some amazing viewing in the month of July, as we are of course all missing the World Series of Poker, which has been moved to the fall. For the people in the chat, do let us know, are you coming to Vegas for the World Series of Poker? Are you excited to play some live poker again, now that in some regions it is possible again to dabble a little bit in the live action? I'm very curious to hear how you guys all feel. David, by the way, is taking your questions, so if you have any questions, please send them into the chat. We do appreciate the compliments and all the congratulations that are being sent David's way. That is very, very good to hear. Let's see what else we got going on here. Let's see if I have any questions. I think we're all caught up on the questions so far. Yeah, and if you want to watch all this stuff with the commentary from Brent Hanks and Jeff Platt, or Ali Najat and Maria Ho, then go check all the final tables out on PokerGo. All right, here we got 3-handed action. A raise from Zufic. You have sixes. Walk us through. He has 28 big blinds. You have sixes. You are the chip leader. Is it sort of expected of you there to apply maximum pressure?
Yeah, in this spot, in this situation, six is just is gonna be a hand that you should just be should be jamming. Zoofish is gonna be raising quite often, and it's a very difficult ICM situation for him to call off here. So this is just gonna be a very profitable shove, and it doesn't play too well post flop as like a flat or a three bet. So this is going to be a clear jam, and yeah, he had kings. So this yeah, but yeah, this is just a pretty standard situation.
Question coming in on YouTube from Toy and Nerds. He says, "Hey David, after your first big win, what did you buy?"
After my first big win, I've never been like I'm gonna go out and buy something because I just won. Like I don't like it. I don't think I had like a big purchase after my first big win. I think I got a car at some point eventually when it made sense and I needed a car and I had a good amount of money, but it wasn't like right after because I won a tournament type thing. But no, I've never really been like never really cared to like buy things or like worried too much about that. I kind of just always just like kind of just put that back into my bankroll. And I'm always like trying to build the bankroll and get to a point where I can play higher stakes and like keep, going, I guess, yeah, going up and not worrying so much about buying things because, that just, it's a step back to where I'm ultimately trying to get to. So I guess I haven't worried too much about that.
Right. So, as far as making your way up the ranks, would you say your lifestyle has sort of stayed the same, or now that you've been playing the high rollers for quite a long time, do you notice that you're starting to care more about a bigger house, a nicer car, stuff like that, or have you still sort of stayed where you are?
Um, yeah, I mean, you still, yeah, you still have goals. You still have things you want to, you still have things you want to purchase. You want to, like, you want to, yeah, like, I've always, wanted to have like a nice house and things like that. But it's still, it makes it easier once you have a comfortable bankroll and like your bankroll to play these high events already. So then you can start, I guess thinking about treating yourself a little more when the pressure of trying to get to these next levels has kind of gone down a bit. But still, I guess I still don't care too much about buying these nice things. I still want to like save up for the future, save up for like so I don't have to be in a situation where I feel like I need to work all the time or play all the time or kind of get to a point where I'm only playing when I genuinely want to play and I'm still enjoying it and I love the competition and everything like that and not feeling like I need to travel to this poker stop in a city maybe I don't want to go to just because I feel like I need to grind out that EV. So I guess that's always been my main goal is to kind of get to that point.
So while you might not buy fancy things after big wins, have you had some blowout parties after big wins?
Oh yeah, I definitely that's how I like to spend my money on stuff like that, like on experiences and like having fun and having like like you said like a big party or just like going having a great time with a bunch of friends and celebrating as opposed to buying something. But yeah, no, I've definitely had some fun parties after big wins. I guess a lot of times it's kind of just like maybe you still have a big event coming up, so it's not maybe it's not as how people think. It's like I go straight from a big win to a massive party. It's like a lot of times it's like you're exhausted, you go to sleep, and then you play another tournament the next day or something. But no, I definitely still have had some good times, some fun parties with friends after big wins.
What are some of the best cities to party in? You've been everywhere. So like what are some of your fondest memories of going out and having a good time around the world?
The best cities to party in. I was just in Playa del Carmen for a long time. That's a fun city. There's a lot to do. It's one of those cities where any night of the week, there's something going on if you want. So, similar to Vegas. So there's always options to have a good time. Um, Barcelona is always a fun city. It's another one of those cities where there's any day of the week. I mean, there's just a million people on the beaches, like no matter what time, at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, it seems like no one works there, but, but I guess there's just a lot of people, having a good time. So yeah, that's a really fun city. Yeah, like Vegas is, it's a fun city. Um, I like Melbourne. That was a cool city. I've only been there a couple times. I want to go. I think I'm sure I'll go when the next time they have a series, if they're having one in January again. But that's a really cool city, laid back. People are great. Um, a lot of fun things to do there. Yeah, I guess those are some of my favorite cities on the poker stuff.
The place you mentioned earlier, that was Playa del Carmen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Playa del Carmen, Mexico, for people that love the beach and love to grind online poker, because that's also something that Mexico is very useful for. Austin says you're by far my favorite player to watch live. Well done, killer. There you go. You can put that in your back pocket. That's a good one. Question I'm curious about also: when did you start noticing, or was there a specific win that made you more of like a household name / famous player, where at the table you started noticing that people, were aware of that?
Was there a specific win? Not really sure. Nothing. I don't know. I don't think there was like a specific one. I think it was more like gradual. I think it was the more gradually I was playing these high rollers and making TV final tables and winning events here and there. I don't know if anything specific sticks out, but yeah, I think it was more just like kind of like gradually. The more I was on like these TV shows and making deep runs and stuff like that, we started to get more notoriety.
Bowie Effect on Twitch is asking, how do you think WSOP will fare numbers-wise this fall? Do you think it'll outperform the summer?
It seems like it probably will. I think there's going to be big numbers. Everything that's been ran so far since things have started opening back up has just been huge. Like I think everyone's very excited to get back to live poker, get back out there. They're excited to kind of return to normal life and yeah, and a lot of people love pokers. I think there's going to be some big numbers, and it's also a better time. Yeah, like you said, it's a better time to be in Vegas. This very hot weather might deter some people from coming when it is during the summer. But now that it's a couple months later, some of those people might decide to come since it's much more comfortable weather. And yeah, so I think it'll do really well.
I agree with you 100%. I think it's going to be an amazing turnout. Let's shoot for 10,000 players in the main event. That would be incredible. Yeah. That'd be just mind-blowing. Is the WSB main event to you as well still one of those like marquee moments of the year where there's no feeling like playing that event and going deep?
Yeah, I mean that's still such a special tournament. I mean that's going deep in that is it's just like it's very unique. And yeah, obviously that's the tournament that everyone wants to make a run in. But yeah, no, I think there would be a different feeling going in deep in a tournament like that than going deep in a high roller or something like that, where maybe proportionally like the money could be kind of similar or whatever, but it's still, I think it would be a much different feeling. I haven't made too deep of a run. I think I got like 90th or something, and maybe 120th or something like that. But as far as like, I would definitely like to make a really deep run. That'd be a lot of fun.
Multiple people are wondering, do you only play tournaments or do you also dabble in some cash action?
Some cash here and there. I was playing some cash online. Some live games here and there, but mostly tournament. I mean, I would play if there was good like private games or good live games going on, or if there's but some big games going on online or something like that. But I guess haven't really broke into the private game scene too much, so I haven't had too many opportunities, I guess. But so I, kind of mostly just playing tournaments. But no, I think I would if opportunities presented itself, then I would play more cash games. But I guess for now, it's mostly just been tournaments.
Right. So, do you think that cash game environment can ever change for the better, where those games are going to be readily available again, or do you think that now that we've gone down this path of most of those games becoming, I want to say semi-private because they're still in casinos, that you can't really, like, once the cat's out of the bag, you can't really put it, you can't really put that back in?
Yeah, hopefully it gets to the point where it changes and it becomes available to everyone. It's probably, I guess I don't really see that happening. I think it's probably going to continue similar how it is, and people who run the games can kind of handpick who they want in there, which I guess has pros and cons. But yeah, as far as it would be nice. It'd be nice if there was big games that anyone could get in, and it would make for a much better, I guess, experience as a professional or anyone. But unfortunately, it seems like that's probably not the direction it's headed. So, but you never know. I guess we'll see what happens.
In the closing minutes of this show, we have tens and nines here in the 25K as you guys are playing heads up. Ron is asking on YouTube, can we do a poker quiz? Well, I got a quiz question for you. You guys don't Google. Please give me the answer, and I'll ask David the answer after you guys had the chance to guess, or maybe you guys know. What place does David Peters rank on poker's all-time money list? Let us know in the chat right now. What place does David Peters rank on the all-time money list? Give me your best guess right now. Don't use Google. Just throw a number out there. Please give us your best guess, and then we'll ask David. Maybe he doesn't even know. I'm kind of curious actually. So let's give you guys a few seconds here as we watch this final hand here of the 25K. By the way, in this 25K, David, in this heads up hand, obviously there's a queen on board. It's tens versus nines. How comfortable were you on the flop there before you hit the set?
Yeah, I mean the flop is still it's a decent flop, especially having spade in my hand, so I had some backup. But yeah, no, I was, it's obviously my better flops, but no, the flop is it's kind of whatever. So the flop was an easy call, and then yeah, it's obviously gin turn. Yeah, I think once he checks, there's a lot of, I don't need too much protection. I mean, a lot of he's not going to have too many outs. A lot of these, like, hands that have a good amount of outs are going to, shove turn at high frequency. And those same type of hands aren't going to be folding much anyways. So, I'm usually, with this hand, usually just going to have to fade a gutter. But, if he has a hand like maybe Jack 6 off, Jack 5 off, one of these type of hands that might decide to use as a bluff pre-flop, then I would rather give him the opportunity to shove river than worry so much about giving up a free card at a gutter.
Right. Enough guesses in the chat. David, do you know where you rank on the all-time money list?
I think seventh.
Seventh, exactly. He's in seventh place. Do you know what your highest rank ever was?
No, I did not.
You were fourth in April of 2019.
All right.
So March 2019, you must have had a big score, and then now you're in seventh place. Of course, all-time money list, is not what it used to be as far as a good sort of indication of who's the best because of the buy-ins, and they got so big. For a large part of your career when you were already very successful, you were like in the hundreds, and then all of a sudden when the high rollers became more of a thing, you jumped a ton in just about 2-year span. As far as the accomplishments, I know the U.S. Poker Open, winning that for the second time because you also did it in 2019, it meant a lot to you. What are you still looking forward to accomplishing as a tournament player? Are there certain trophies or accolades you want to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some series that would be cool to win, like Poker Masters. Like the PokerGO Cup coming up would be a cool, and obviously, the WCP main event is what everyone wants to win. But yeah, it would be nice to win some more bracelets and things like that. I guess I don't worry too much about it. It's just kind of just like a cool thing that it would be fun to look back on someday and have some good memories about like this or that. But I guess it doesn't like I don't think about it or worry about it too much. But it's still a cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Here we see it on the screen. USPO champion in event 11. That was enough to close out the championship as Sam Soverell did not manage to win the main event. He still had a chance in the final event to overtake you. He did not manage to do so. Everyone who is watching Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, I appreciate it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll be back next week with another show. We'll try to get Sean Winter on the show to watch some US Poker Open action as he won the 50K. Please let me know in the comments who else you want to see on the show. Every single item that is on PokerGo is available for me to look at. So if you have any good suggestions, please send those in. On your way out, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. And then what leaves me to say is that Global Poker was the sponsor of the show today. Free poker at its best. Check out globalpoker.com if you are in a location where the games are being offered. Free poker is always a good idea, so go and check them out. David, thanks once again so much for being on the show. I appreciate this little breakdown that you were able to provide. We learned a lot about you, about your play, and we will see you at the PokerGo Cup, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Appreciate it so much. All right. See you guys next week. This was Run It Back, and we'll have a new guest on the show, and then we'll do another one. We'll just watch some more poker action. That's what we're all about. Thanks a lot, and peace out.